That was a place where those 60 people worked. The state is going to do what it can to help, and the company that they work for says it also will do the same. 2 weeks ago, nobody filed to run for mayor in the general election. 4 people cast write-in ballots, including Jessie. 2 people wrote her name in. She wrote in somebody else's name. Is charged with 1 bank robbery at this point, and no word on if any charges will come out of today's incident here with the barricade situation. Oh, Nicole, it's a chilly day here in Washington, but everybody's so excited to be here. You should have seen the faces of these men and women as they came off that plane from Columbia this morning here at Ronald Reagan National Airport. Governor Nikki Haley and other state leaders will make the trip here to Canada in a few weeks to try to lure more Canadian businesses to invest in the Palmetto State. The gates will open here very soon if they haven't already. Fans are going to come in. This track is going to be very busy today, and it all culminates tomorrow night with the Southern 500 under the lights here at Darlington Raceway.
Right now, an amazing story, 4 decades in the making. It's a special reunion for 2 friends from 2 different continents who share an unbreakable bond.
One of the men is from right here in our area. News 13's Rusty Ray traveled hundreds of miles to be the only television reporter to share in the moment, and his special report tonight is truly Positively Carolina.
It has pictures of the exact boats that we were on.
This book holds part of Jim Milstead's story in Vietnam.
A lot of times these boats were used to transport Marines downriver so they can go in and do a sweep.
On that U.S. Navy ship in 1970 and 71, Jim commanded a group of South Vietnamese sailors.
We painted it up and put the South Vietnamese insignias on there, and it was their boat from there on out, and a lot of guys got to come home. And some of us stayed.
What made Jim's stay bearable was his friendship with young Sean No.
His English was, well, certainly better than my Vietnamese, but he really made an effort. He's always smiling.
But no words could describe what happened to the 7-7 boat on January 4th, 1971, as it came under Viet Cong attack. Several of Jim's crew fell wounded, including Sean. Jim got out hurt and shaken up.
When I got back to the base, I had asked, who was killed, and he said all of them.
But what officers didn't know, and Jim didn't know, is Sean did make it out. Recovery crews dropped him off before they returned to base. He immigrated to America 30 years ago. Now he owns his own Japanese steakhouse in Venice, Florida.
Many people just like me, they get out to look for the freedom, and they pay for their own life and never come. But I'm lucky I come to this land.
Sean, like Jim, often wondered what happened to his friend from long ago.
But you both played an important role in each other's lives, obviously.
Well, I'll tell you, Rusty, it was like I said, when I was told that nobody survived, you got to let it go. You got to push it away, or it'll consume you.
And I don't want to go to Washington, to the Black Wall, to look for his name. I never want to do it.
Sean asked his friend Jack Gang to help him locate Jim online. Jack eventually came across this VFW magazine photo, tracked down Jim on the Grand Strand, and gave Sean Jim's number.
And I had my phone, and it rang, and I put it on the railing, and I looked at it, and I knew who it was, and couldn't pick it up.
Eventually, they talked and agreed to reunite in Florida last Friday.
Jim! Kathy, how are you?
A warm Florida February day, a remarkable reunion, so special and so perfect.
Thank you. Very nice to see you.
He looks good. He looks just like he did when he was a 20-year-old there.
But I think we change a lot, just outside, but inside we do the same.
That connection brought them together and made these two 20-year-olds from different countries inseparable in a time of war.
I can take off my uniform and run away, but he can't. That's why I think in my mind, this man come to my country, the big favor for himself and for my own people.
I'm just honored that he remembered my name. You know, and I know that we were both very young, and riding the rivers, you become very close.
Now these two can enjoy more time together in a different time, under much different circumstances. And so to come back and meet at this point in your lives?
It's a miracle. Purely, just, it's hard to even make it up. You know, you just can't make it up.
But you can make up for the time lost.
We're in America now.
Yes, you are. Yes, we are.
No more glory.
40 years later, and these two may never let each other go again. In Venice, Florida, Rusty Ray, News 13.
The couple spent Saturday together, and Jim says they plan to get together this summer sometime when Sean and Hannah drive up the coast to see family in New York.
Well, that is a fantastic story.
It's a great story. Thank you, Rusty, for bringing that to us.
All the way from down in Florida. Well, here's a dilemma for you tonight. What happens in a town when the mayor is too sick to carry on, but no one else runs for mayor?
Well, that happened right around here in Robeson County, and tonight News 13's Rusty Ray shows you that what happened next is truly, positively Carolina.
Jessie Stevens knows her hometown by heart.
So it's a very close-knit, small community that we have here, but we enjoy it.
Orem is the kind of town where a school and a church make up the skyline, and 3 businesses in one constitutes a shopping center.
We know what each other's doing. It's not that we're nosy, we just like to keep up with each other.
Jessie and her husband moved back to Orem 50 years ago when he was a tobacco buyer.
A lot of changes have had to occur, but hopefully the farmers will find something that will be more beneficial to the people.
2 years ago, and more than 30 years after her husband died, Jessie was given away to maybe benefit the town's 80 residents.
I was out raking leaves that afternoon, and the mayor came by and stopped me. He said, "Congratulations." And I wondered, I said, "On what?" Because I had just retired, see. And he said, "No, you're on town council now."
She received write-in votes.
That's how Jessie became mayor. 2 weeks ago, nobody filed to run for mayor in the general election. 4 people cast write-in ballots, including Jessie. 2 people wrote her name in. She wrote in somebody else's name.
I should have asked him ahead of time if I could vote for him, I guess, but I didn't.
Did anybody ask you if they could vote for you?
No, they didn't. I was surprised. I was expecting them to put me back on council, but I did not expect this responsibility.
But she'll continue her resolve inside Town Hall.
Somebody's got to take some responsibility and do something to make our town keep growing. We need to grow. We need something, an attraction to make young people want to settle here, even though they have to drive a few miles to work.
It all starts the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Will you be sworn in then, or what's the deal?
We'll have to talk about it. We'll have to talk about it.
And they'll listen, because Jessie's in charge now. In Orem, Rusty Ray, News 13.
Mayor-elect Stevens said the biggest issues the council normally tackles are keeping the street lights on around town and making sure there is trash pickup available.
Ronald Floyd has seen it all in 30 years of delivering mail, but when he got to Carol Shipley's house a few weeks ago, he saw fire.
That's the property next to us over there.
Carol got home at just that same moment.
And Ron is waving to me, and I'm like, "Hey, Ron." And then Ron's yelling at me, "Go round the back and look." And I pulled in halfway down the drive there, and it was devastation.
Well, we thought the fire was contained over this way, and then on closer observation, we got to looking, and I saw some fire on the back side of the house.
He sent Carol in to call 911, and Ronald got to work trying to contain the flames.
And Ron was running backwards and forwards with a bucket, tipping the water in till we'd filled the whole thing up.
When I came around, this area pretty much had already been burned up in here, and it was kind of on fire back this way, which I was not too concerned about a house once I saw it was more this way.
Of course, Ronald finished the rest of his route and he came back by about an hour or so later, and the firefighters were back. They were fighting the fire, which had kind of rekindled, and it was spread to the pasture in the woods behind Carol's house. She says both times he was here, he helped keep her calm. So she wrote his boss to thank Ronald.
I just felt it was important to let people know that he was absolutely wonderful.
Like I say, I just feel like that God sometimes gives us the opportunity to help someone in need, and we just try to do it in a very positive way, and that's kind of my philosophy on life.
By including very positive stops like this one along his route. In Horry County, Rusty Ray, News 13. Reporting for Fox News at 10, I'm Rusty Ray.